Hello, thanks for joining a new video. Let me share what I liked and disliked about the iPhone 17 Pro Max after testing it, if you're thinking of buying it. As always, don't buy the iPhone 17 Pro Max without watching this video. Consider its launch price, which in Mexico has been of 30,999 pesos, and unlike Android devices, the iPhone keeps this price for a long time, so it is not so easy to say. Surely, after a few months, the price has likely dropped, allowing us to overlook several aspects. We can be quite particular here because the device almost never decreases in price. This actually becomes a significant advantage, because if you intend to sell it in the future to purchase the next generation, you will undoubtedly receive more money for an iPhone compared to an Android. That's a certainty. But without a doubt, the center stage camera will be another key aspect of this device and one of my personal favorite features. It's an exceptionally wide front camera, which, as you may know, even allows you to capture scenes in landscape format while holding the device vertically. So this feature is quite original, and it's truly one of my favorite features. As we all know, the iPhone is a powerhouse for video recording, and this device is certainly no exception to that. It has the capability to record in ProRes log with exceptional quality, which is quite impressive. However, to fully utilize these features, you will need an external storage unit to accommodate the data. Fortunately, it allows for direct recording to such a unit, to that drive. Fortunately, you have the ability to record directly to that drive without needing additional steps, so truly, in that regard, it's quite impressive. In fact, the movie recording mode is unparalleled. It remains excellent, highly precise in edge detection, and it's in K. You can even apply a focus effect to the background, effectively blurring the foreground, which is something that Android devices are still unable to achieve. Actually, when you use the telephoto lens, you don't need portrait mode. You'll notice a nice depth of field. Also, taking raw selfies is unique to this device. I haven't seen it elsewhere. This model offers something unique to the iPhone. While these features are specialized, they are also very professional, as raw photography allows for highly specific image editing. Extremely professional in managing lights and colors in a very particular manner, this device is designed to have an exceptionally long lifespan. It will receive numerous updates, making it a truly worthwhile investment that will endure for many years, if it'll last. An interesting feature unique to this device is in the accessibility options. The iPhone is generally more entertaining than practical for most users. It is primarily designed for individuals who have limited or no hand mobility, allowing them to operate the phone using just their eyes. Yes, by simply moving their eyes, the phone can detect what they wish to control. Of course, there is a learning curve to this feature, and I must emphasize that it's not something you will be using on a daily basis. However, I like to highlight these kinds of features that manufacturers put effort into developing. The battery performance on this device is absolutely brutal. Let's put an end to the myth that iPhones lack battery life. Seriously, that notion is outdated from the days of the iPhone 12. It's time to upgrade. The iPhone is now one of the devices with the most impressive battery life available. It took me a full 5 hours to download content as quickly as possible while running demanding benchmarks non-stop. In the YouTube test, it achieved a remarkable 25 hours. Very few Android devices can even come close to matching what the iPhone accomplishes in terms of battery life, so it's truly brutal. Additionally, the satellite connectivity, extremely robust. In emergencies, you will receive excellent support because even if there is no mobile signal, you can still send an emergency message. This feature is available in several countries, including Mexico. Unlike other Android devices that may offer this option, but only for China or a few selected countries, this has a broader scope. This definitely makes a significant difference and is very beneficial. The ecosystem, as usual, will be very good, both in number of devices and in the interaction between them. That's another point. It is essential to be aware that this can also turn into a disadvantage for Apple as it operates within a very closed ecosystem. You should always keep in mind that if you decide to purchase an iPhone, you will almost inevitably need to also buy a Mac, an iPad, and an Apple Watch to enjoy a truly seamless experience. This is because if you intend to use your iPhone alongside a Windows computer, you are likely to encounter difficulties. Or if you use headphones from different brands, you won't have the identical experience. Therefore, it is crucial to be quite aware of this fact. In graphics applications, it will also perform exceptionally well, ranging from simple things like Snapchat filters that appear ultra-fluid to much more complex tasks such as real-time rendering with augmented reality. Honestly, it's an incredibly powerful tool in that area. Additionally, another advantage we can attribute to the iPhone is the availability of numerous games that debut on the App Store on iPhone first. Often, it takes a significant amount of time before these games become accessible on Android. That is undoubtedly a positive aspect as well. iPhone offers a complete gaming experience. Now let's talk about what I didn't like. First, the design is awful. I really don't like it. This bottom part in a different tone is unappealing. I get that it looks different from the previous generation, which makes many want to change it to appear like they have the latest iPhone, but I personally don't like it. I understand this is subjective. In addition, it does not offer us a general system equalizer. It only offers us equalizer within Apple Music, and each application has to be its equalizer. It is something that I do not like. It also does not offer advanced audio features, as we see in other cell phones, for example, to have several applications playing at the same time and lower the volume to one of the applications while you raise the volume to others. These are somewhat advanced features that I'm accustomed to using on Android, and not finding them here causes me a lot of frustration. Additionally, it doesn't support advanced Bluetooth codecs beyond Apple's own, which means if you're looking for high-resolution audio through headphones, you must use AirPods, or you simply won't have that option. In contrast, on Android, there are many more codecs available like LDAC, LHDC, and aptX, which are implemented by various manufacturers. This allows you to choose the headphones you prefer and enjoy Bluetooth audio in high resolution. Another small detail worth mentioning is that even though the vibration engine is among the best in terms of hardware, its software implementation isn't particularly advanced. This aspect really affects the user experience. At the moment, I believe Oppo excels in this area. When you interact with the system, such as adjusting indicators, moving a slider, or generally navigating through the interface, you will notice that the feedback you feel in your hand is much more premium. On the iPhone, I feel this feature is underused in many apps. iPhone used to excel at this, but now it's lacking. Night selfies aren't impressive, and night portrait selfies are embarrassingly low quality, like on cheap Android devices. It's disappointing. I don't understand why Apple hasn't fixed this over several generations. I consistently conduct the same test for all phones, and the iPhone ranks among the worst in this particular area. Its zoom reaches 40x, which isn't necessarily bad. However, consider what type of user you are, because on Android, you can find devices that go up to 100x, 120x, or even further with special accessories. Keep in mind, we're discussing the limits here. On Android, they typically use a significant amount of artificial intelligence, applying it extensively in order to attempt to optimize the results as much as possible. But in certain scenarios, it might appear better than in others. However, I need to tell you that, for instance, when comparing a 30x with several cell phones, including the iPhone, it falls somewhat short compared to what Android devices offer. In 30x, you can still observe natural results, unlike the results at 80 or 100x, where on Android they already seem quite fake. So I'm not specifically referring to those results, but rather to the performance at 30 or 40x when compared to other competitors. This device, if it falls below, in fact, you'll notice that at night, the zoom can suffer, unlike other Android devices like the Oppo Find X9 Pro or the Vivo X300 Pro, which perform much cleaner when zooming in at night. You'll also notice that the main camera's focus is quite distant. Interestingly, the base model has a focus that's a bit closer, not to mention the telephoto focus is excessively far. This does not allow you to take daily macro shots, which is something that if you find in several Android devices, it looks much more professional than taking a macro picture with the ultra-wide camera that allows this device. So, the camera is not as versatile as other Android options that surpass it, especially in photography. For example, night portraits with objects aren't great. A curious detail is that while recording video, it's very limited. You can turn on the flashlight without stopping the recording first, then the option appears. It also doesn't allow you to switch to the front camera while you are recording. To do that, you must stop the recording and then rotate the camera. Honestly, it's not very versatile in this aspect. Samsung and other Android devices have a far superior implementation in this regard. Additionally, the fast camera mode is quite poor, as it only supports full HD and lacks any manual speed adjustment. It feels like this fast camera mode has been the same for 16 generations of iPhone. Well, I might have exaggerated a bit. It appears that this fast camera mode was actually developed around 10 generations ago by iPhone, and they have never really made any changes to it since then. It's quite disappointing. The camera interface itself doesn't seem very good to me either. Having to move one by one between modes to switch makes the experience feel very slow. When you tap, other options appear but not the modes, which is quite frustrating. I really don't like it at all, to be honest. I understand this might be something you can eventually get accustomed to, but in my opinion, when it comes to usability, the interface of the iPhone camera is among the worst. Moreover, using it with one hand is quite problematic. Imagine that I want to tap on the clock app, yet I simply can't reach it. Even if I perform the gesture to bring it closer, it remains out of reach and I still can't touch it. It's truly not useful. This mode for one-handed use is really impractical and not convenient at all. And what can I say about artificial intelligence? It's quite poor. The object eraser performs terribly. Its automatic detection is not good. It functions really terribly. The charging process, as charging only works well for the first 30 minutes, reaching up to 62% from zero. However, the final stage slows down significantly to protect battery life. I wish there was an option to disable this and allow a full charge from 0 to 100 as quickly as possible. Additionally, the majority of apps don't truly operate in the background. Although this significantly aids in preserving your battery life, it negatively impacts your user experience. I've experienced numerous occasions where I'm in the middle of uploading something and I'm compelled to remain within the app. I'm unable to multitask or do anything else until the upload is complete. This situation is quite frustrating because it prevents you from opening floating apps or using split screen functionality to continue with other tasks. This is a cell phone that I refer to as single tasking. While it does have excellent graphics compatibility for advanced games, it truly isn't the ideal phone for gaming. The reason is that the heating can become an issue, causing it to lose stability during demanding tasks. There are certainly better options available on Android for gaming purposes. However, if you've already purchased it, please share your thoughts in the comments and try to do so without any bias. We've reached the end of this video. If you liked it, feel free to indicate so. See you next time.